Alright, this is linear equations, part 1, and we're looking to find slope of lines, including parallel and perpendicular lines, write equations of lines, including vertical and horizontal. We will be able to graph lines, and we will solve word problems involving linear relationships. Let's start with the slope of a line, something you've seen before. Okay, we have points. If we have points x1, y1, and x2, y2 on a line, the slope m is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You've also seen it as rise over run, or change in x, or sorry, change in y over the change in x. Okay. Another way we learn about it in physics and in calculus is you learn about it this way. Delta y, that's not a triangle, it's called delta, Greek letter, delta y over delta x. Alright, so find the slope of the line through given 2 points. So 5, 2, and 11, 16. So our slope would be 16 minus 2 over 11 minus 5. 16 minus 2 is 14. 11 minus 5 is 6. So 14 over 6, if you reduce that, it would be 7 over 3. That would be our slope. Probably done that before. Now let's find the slope of a line from a graph. So the slope of the line below. And when we're finding slope from a graph, what we look for are points where it crosses at one of the little crosshairs here. We want it to cross, like this point is no good because this point here, right here in the middle, if we go to 2 here, there's a point on the curve, but we want one like right here, because that's got coordinates. That point is the point 4, 0. So we don't have to estimate. We don't have to estimate coordinates at that point. Now we find another one. Point here also happens to be good, and that is the point 0, negative 3. And then we do exactly what we did above. So m equals, it'd be negative 3 minus 0 over 0 minus 4, which is negative 3 over negative 4, and the negatives cancel, so it's just 3/4. We found the slope of that line. All right. Properties of slope. Okay. Properties of slope. So if the slope is greater than 0, the line rises from left to right. If the slope equals 0, so that would be something like this, something like that, even a slight rise, it still has a positive slope. Okay. If the slope equals 0, the line is horizontal. Looks like a flat line. And if the slope is negative, the line falls from left to right. So it might go down like this, down like this, down steep, very steep. All of those things are okay. A vertical line, so one that goes straight up and down, has undefined slope. Undefined slope. let's look at three forms for the equation of a line. Okay, standard form is the one we actually use the least, but it's also the only one that we can write the equation of every single line in this form. There are some lines that we can't write in slope-intercept form or point-slope form. We can write every line, the equation of every line, in standard form. Okay? Mainly, if y drops out, we have no way of writing the equation in slope-intercept form or point-slope form. So that's why we have standard form. Slope-intercept form is the one you've dealt with the most. This y equals mx plus b. Of course, this is the slope. And this is the y-intercept where it crosses the y-axis. Okay. And that one's useful, and it is used a lot. Okay. My favorite though is point-slope form. It's easiest to work with. Okay, it's quickest. You have to do fewer calculations. Okay, and m is still the slope. And then this is the x1 from the point here, and this is the y1 from a point, any point on the line. So the fact of the matter is, except in very special cases, if you can write it in slope-intercept form, you can write it in point-slope form. In fact, you always can. So I really prefer point-slope form. It's easier to work with, and only in a few cases is slope-intercept form easier. Okay. So let's look at finding the slope and the y-intercept of the line. 4x minus 5y equals 22. Well, if we want the slope and the y-intercept, we want m and we want b. So if we had this in y equals mx plus b, that would be helpful. So let's put it in that form by solving this equation for y. So we're going to take this 4x minus 5y equals 22, and we're going to solve it for y, so it's in y equals mx plus b format. So first I would subtract 4x from both sides. Okay, so what I have, these cancel, of course. I have negative 5y equals 22 minus 4x, or negative 4x plus 22, whichever you prefer. Divide by negative 5, divide everything by negative 5. And so I end up with y, because these negative 5's cancel, equals negative 22 over 5. And the negative 4 and the negative 5 that we see here become positive. They cancel, the negatives cancel, and that negative becomes a positive. So it'd be plus 4 over 5 x. Fix that up a little bit. Plus 4 5x.